I've lost my view of Too Fast, Too Furious, directed by John Singleton from 2003. So yes, we are back once again, ready to discuss another film on the channel. This time around, their second entry in the Fast and Furious franchise. And yeah, look forward to discussing this film today. First of all, there will be a spoiler warning for this video. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing it first, and then come back to this video, and we can go from there. We can talk about this from the comments, and yeah, celebrate cinema. So yeah, with what I said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film. And yeah, this is a really interesting one. The second film of the franchise, and it feels quite different to the first film at times. This one, and also we haven't got Vin Diesel in this one. We haven't got Jordana Brewster and Michelle Rodriguez. A lot of the characters, and also Tokyo Drift, are not kind of in this series until the fourth entry, Fast and Furious. And I think it does hurt the film quite a bit, especially the absence of Vin Diesel and that kind of chemistry, the back and forth between him and Paul Walker in the first film. It's really definitely missed, and I think just really most of the characters, not being here. And we've got Tom Barry returning, for the character that he plays, but more of a obviously minor character from the first film. Not one of the main members of the group. The only member of the main cast that returns is Paul Walker, of course, and that's great to see. And he's really good in this film once again, and just so enjoyable. But I think really most of the other characters, as I say, are not here. But we do have Tyrese Gibson in the film playing Roman Pierce, and someone who is obviously a childhood friend of Brian, and Brian takes him in for this main mission of the film to bring down, of course, Carter Verone, and played by Cole Hauser in the film as the villain. And I think it's quite an interesting setup this film, and I think the way in which Brian is captured basically, because he's on the run from the first film because he is actually someone who he did obviously let Thom go, and so the police and the detectives are kind of looking for him, and obviously Brian being caught and kind of brought in with the detectives and all this and the police. That was quite a good scene actually, and just to kind of play a little bit on the events of the ending especially of the first film, and I really enjoyed how that was done. And Tom Barry in this film was really good. Really enjoyed his presence, and yeah, he's not in any other films going forward. Well, that's a shame, but I think just in this film, he is really good, and I enjoy just the back and forth between him and Paul Walker, and I think as well James Remar in the film was really good, a new addition to the franchise here, and I thought just the friction and the way he's kind of back and forth there between him and Paul Walker as well, especially, was well done. But yeah, after the first act is where I really started to kind of notice I wasn't as invested in the film, and really some things that were kind of repeating from the first film a little bit, and just not done in as good a way. And all the street racing in this film is definitely enjoyable, and I think the first main street race as well it was definitely cool, but I think just nowhere near as good as the first film, nowhere near as investing, and as well done and directed for me personally. And I just think there's something about this film with the plot, the way it kind of progresses in the film, and also the villain, Cole Hauser is giving a really good performance at times, but I think the villain of Carter Verone, for me, is just way too dark for this kind of film. And this is a very just kind of fun, campy, quite silly film at times, and just a kind of chilled out film, nostalgic, just kind of hangout film at times. And I think the way we have this villain in the film, it's just so bizarre, because at times, there's moments where you've got this kind of torture sequence, in the film later on, and it's something that I did not, kind of take to at all. And I think when I was seeing this, I was just thinking, that's way too far, for me. And just in the context of this film, it just really took me out of it, and it was just really, it broke the tone entirely. And I think at times you've got even sillier moments coming in after that kind of stuff with the violence and just the whole kind of the villain here. And I think again, I praise the performance, I do, and I think it's definitely, it could have been in another film and it would have been way more effective, but for this film it just doesn't really work for me properly. And I think it's just, it does take me out of the film, the experience, and it definitely lessened my enjoyment because it was just far too dark and one note as well. I think the villain in this film, and I get they're trying to take him down, and they have to show the true nature of this villain in the film, but it was just far too much for me, and it was just really gross. And yeah, definitely something as well throughout the film, the way he kind of interacts with Eva Mendes' character of Monica, I just didn't really enjoy that either. And I thought again it was a bit one note for me. And I think Eva Mendes though was really good in the film, and I enjoyed her chemistry with Paul Walker in the film, and I thought that was well done. It didn't really lead anywhere, it's a quite disappointing aspect of the film, and it was just kind of cut off in that final act. But I did enjoy moments, interactions with them in the film, and I think Roman Pierce as well, as a character who, in the end, after actually the first act of the film, I thought, he started to pick up, and I was more invested in this character. There's a point where, because he's been quite, I guess quite aggressive and just kind of annoyed. Obviously Paul Walker's character of, Brian, because of the past and the way that he blames him, and just quite, full on. They're fighting as well in the film, which was a funny scene. But I think after that, the initial first act of the film, he does kind of somehow kind of change character in a way, and to a character that I did prefer. In the sense he's more jolly and upbeat and just all out, kind of campy and more likable, and the friendship is kind of there again between these two characters. But it was very strange, the way that was done, the kind of shifting character. But definitely at first I was thinking, this character is not really what I'm enjoying that much. But I think as the film went on, I did enjoy the character a lot more, and I think that's one of my favourite aspects of the film. Is just the pairing between Paul Walker and of course Tyrese Gibson, and I think just these characters and the way they have this backstory as well. These two former childhood friends. So there's definitely aspects of this film that I do enjoy, but there's some things that don't quite come together for me, and things that I'm not as big on. I think one of the things is the kind of changing of locations from LA to mainly focusing on Miami in this film, and I think just the way Miami was portrayed, it was nice, it was good to look at, I think, and it was cool to see this, but just the way it was done in this film, and the kind of portrayal of the neighborhoods, the streets in the first film was definitely something missing here, that kind of aspect. Yeah, it just definitely lacked an atmosphere, this one, compared to the first, and I think at times, as I said, the tone is up and down, just with some of the characters, like the villain of the film, and Carter Verone, and I think it was definitely, I did find the detective play in this to be quite, interesting and enjoyable, especially with Tom Barry in the film, the way he kind of elevates certain scenes, and I think James Remar as well, it kept it a bit more interesting in those scenes, and I did definitely enjoy parts, there as well, and I think just, some of the action in the film was quite cool, and I think there's definitely a style to the film. It's just really, really different to the first film for me, and it doesn't quite feel like, they're kind of following this narrative, in a kind of consistent way, really, and it felt like a really more of a spin-off film, I find, compared to the first film than a, kind of true, traditional sequel building on the first, and one of the things, obviously, is because of the lack of returning main cast members, and, I think as well, just the tone of this one is very different, and doesn't really feel, the stakes, for some reason, are as big, even though you've got this really, kind of horrible, villain here, and he's doing more extreme stuff in this, and it's, in some ways attempted to be a bit more kind of large scale with the kind of final set piece, and all the helicopters and all this. But I think it doesn't feel as large scale in that sense, and it's not as personal as well, and as the first film, and it doesn't quite feel as investing in that sense, and as big of an event, really, and I think as well just the way that some things are kind of rehashing from the first, but just done worse in this film, that doesn't really help the film. But having said that, there's definitely parts of the film that I really appreciate, and just overall it's an enjoyable film. It's got some funny moments in the film, campy moments. I just enjoyed the characters and the charm to this, and the main kind of team up, obviously, of Tyrese Gibson and Paul Walker. I did enjoy, especially in the end, and I thought that was something that I did, throughout, kind of take to. So definitely the core elements of this film, I enjoyed consistently, and I think even though the plot was very convoluted again, and even more so this time round, it didn't feel as kind of big as the first film, and it felt more like a spin-off film, as I've said, in many ways. I think I did, consistently enjoy the film to a point where, I thought it was okay. It was a bare bones film, this one. Some parts that I didn't really enjoy with the villain, and some parts just weren't as investing for me. But overall, definitely it's an enjoyable film, one that I liked overall, and I think definitely some funny moments, as I say, some campy moments, and overall it was an engaging film, an entertaining kind of film here. I think, and Paul Walker once again was really good. I think there just wasn't as much with the characters, though. There was kind of that complexity and the layers that the first film had, combined with that fun campy nature of the first. So overall my rating for this film is a 61%. So definitely a film that I enjoyed, and it's entertaining enough, but it's not a one that I was huge on this time round, and I thought it was just one that did feel, as I say, more like a spin-off event, from the first film, and one where we have this kind of side quest in that sense for the main narrative and the main franchise, and it's one that I did enjoy despite that. It had a very different feel, and had just at times points where the tone was up and down, different characters, especially, as I say, that villain, which I wasn't big on at all, really. Although definitely a good performance by Hauser. You know, I just didn't really enjoy the way it was, you know, put into this film, this villain. It felt like from another type of film, really, for me personally. And yeah, I enjoyed that even Mendes, and you know, I thought just the chemistry between quite a lot of the characters, the main characters, once again, was really enjoyable. And I think just, yeah, the pairing between, of course, Tyrese Gibson and Paul Walker was warm enough, and you know, I thought it was well done, and yeah, it definitely kept the film engaging throughout, and yeah, it was just a good setup as well. You know, I think in the first act, that's one of the things that really kept the film, you know, kind of to a standard as well. Just the way the things were set up and the way that, you know, kind of introduced to the villain at first. You know, just even Mendes and how she's involved. It was well done. It was well written, and you know, I thought just well directed. And in that sense, going through the film, you know, some things dropped off for my investment, my enjoyment, and other things picked up as well. You know, like of course Roman Pierce. You know, I thought this character did improve. You know, as the film went on, and he started to open up a bit more, and we learned a bit more about him, and I just saw, yeah, more of the interactions that were kind of more, you know, charming and you know, feel good between him and Paul Walker, and you know, I thought, yeah, so overall, definitely it balances out to an average film, and one that is a bit more bare bones for me. It's a like, but it's not one that I'm, you know, that big on really, and you know, still, you know, it's definitely got you know, things going for it, and you know, I thought it was nice and stylistic, and you know, I thought just some really cool kind of warm feel good moments, and again, definitely a nostalgic film, you know, I definitely will say that, and it's got some really wacky moments here, and just, you know, it's definitely, yeah, it's a feel-good film, and, you know, it's got that nostalgia to it, it's got that warm, kind of fuzzy feeling at times, and, yeah, just some cool action, some cool moments in the film, and the characters, once again, you know, the main characters, definitely some ones that I did really enjoy in this film. And Paul Walker, once again, you know, it's definitely, yeah, really good in this film, and, yeah, just not as interesting in this one, you know, layered and kind of entertaining as the first film in many regards, but it's an okay film and one that I overall enjoyed. So that's my thoughts. What do you think on this film? It'd be great to hear in the comments your thoughts on this film and your experience with this, and how does it compare for you to the first film, the franchise. It'd be great to discuss this all in the comments. Let's talk this down below and celebrate cinema. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.